The Level Link suspension platform is Diamondback's short-link 4-bar system built to isolate chain forces from trail inputs, resulting in their best pedaling mountain bike ever. They also boast that this is easy to service because all of the hardware is on the non-drive side, leaving the crank out of the way. So, is it easy to service? Let's find out. I grabbed everything I would need: some hex keys, a brush, some bike grease, and a rag. I haven't yet invested in a bike stand, which I'm finding out would be more and more useful, so I'm doing this service on the ground. First thing is to let all of the air out of the shock. And with that done, I can start on the lower linkage. It takes a 6mm hex to get the bolt out of both pivot points. The next part is a little tricky, getting out the tapered washer. There is a slot for an 8mm hex, but it's tight and takes some force to get it through to loosen the washer. I'd say that this is probably the hardest part of the service. After the tapered washers are out, a 10mm hex wrench will undo the through axles. When separating the linkage, I had to be mindful that there are bearing caps wedged in between the pivot points and made sure to try and catch them if they fell. With everything apart, I can wipe the parts clean and brush out any dirt, reapply some bike grease, and put it back together. Simple as that. I don't have a torque wrench, but I noted how deep the axles and washers were seated before taking out and replicated that when reinstalling. I then moved to the upper pivots, including the shock mount bolts. I removed everything, wiped down, cleaned, and greased every part. One issue I had was with the topmost axle. It seemed to not line up correctly. After some investigating, I found that one of the bearings was not seated all the way in the frame, so with some not so recommended tactics, I had it seated properly in the frame and was able to get the bike put back together. It took me a total of about an hour to do this job, but being the first time, I imagine future services will be less than half that. With all the hardware on the non-drive side, it was pretty easy to do the service. Anybody with the tools and patience can easily do the job. With everything refreshed, it should keep my bike riding smooth and quiet. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below and make sure to subscribe for future content and updates. And as always, thanks for watching.